pause that, shall we? Let's pause it. And I hope you're feeling strong. Yep. I hope you're feeling strong and you're feeling positive, because the world is your oyster. Yeah? The world is your oyster. Let's get the logo up. It's the Motivator Show. This is where we translate our words into action, and where success is ours for the taking. And you've got to believe it in your soul, yeah? In your intellect, in your belief system, yeah? Success is ours for the taking. It is very much a mindset. This show will empower you to assert that mindset. That's why these shows begin. So let's begin, shall we? Let's begin, because it's going to be a busy show. Lots of toing and froing. This will be a show which will be a watershed in the opinions of Caribbean peoples, African peoples, indeed Jamaican peoples, African Jamaicans, or all Jamaicans. This will be a show, a watershed show, because we're going to discuss the truism of the future of that wonderful island of Jamaica. The truism, understand the current situation, the true situation, and then project forward our ambitions, our aspirations for the future, as we've completed the similar exercise for Nigeria. Okay, I'll go straight into the show. Let's give a big shout out to all of those of you who have dedicated yourself to self-improvement. Because in this part of the show, I will go straight into our lifestyle messages. Okay? That's what I'm going to do. But before that, I should recognize, of course, GalaxyAfiwe.net. I want to recognize the management. I want to recognize Ian King, who's taken us from night to day. I want to recognize it is a conscious raising radio station, digital radio station, intended to empower you, to de-brainwash, get away from the propaganda. So the data, the information shared today is information we've gleaned, we've resolved, yep, we've rationalized, and now we're espousing to you, yep, communicating to you, ensure you understand the facts from our world view. Very important, from our world view. Not what someone else has said or hinted to us. It's from our world view. So well done to the Galaxy Afiwe Network management. This show, of course, goes out via YouTube under the Motivator banner. Facebook, again under the Motivator banner. And of course, audio via Mixcloud as well. Okay. So it is a multi-platform show, okay? And I'm really encouraged by the increased numbers of viewers and listeners. And thank you for your very positive feedback. It's been immensely rewarding. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But without further ado, I want to get straight into the lifestyle messages, critical lifestyle messages, because we know we have saved lives. But I know there are many of you still who've resisted the messages because you form habits and you're reluctant to change those habits unless you're given good reason. I said to you, your health is your wealth. That is good reason enough. Additionally, if you're in love, you've got loved ones, for them, it's important. Have you got people who respect you, who listen to your wise counsel? Do it for them, because you become the example. Yeah? The Motivator Show, this is where we translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. Important words, ours for the taking, our assertion. our determination. So here are a few of the lifestyle messages. I ask you to consider the amount of sugar and salt that you ingest every day. I ask you to do so because sugar and salt are the primary causes of some very public health conditions, namely diabetes and hypertension or high blood pressure. Okay? I recall a speech given by the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Hilary Beckles, where he noted, even in his immediate family and wider networks, the levels of diabetes were unsettling. But just as important, he noted, across the Caribbean, across Jamaica, across the Caribbean, there's an epidemic of diabetes amongst the populace. And there's a direct causal impact by our consumption of sugar. Sugar is an integral part of our cuisine. Sugar plantation, yes, it's an integral part of our cuisine. Okay? Type 2 diabetes is fundamentally a lifestyle condition caused by our actions. Look, I learned to acquire a taste for sugar as a child. I was given sweets as a treat. It was a good action. My parents, my relatives loved me dearly. They didn't know the potential long-term consequences of developing a sweet tooth and eating and consuming sugar to excess, which is what we often do, those of us in the West, most certainly. The abundance of sugar in our cuisine, in our general diet, around in our environment, means that we are particularly vulnerable to overconsumption. And there's a direct causal link between the consumption of sugar and diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Type 1, of course, is genetics. So I ask you to consider the amount of sugar that you consume every day. I no longer purchase sugar from the grocery store. I have learnt my lesson. But I've seen relatives and loved ones who then contract diabetes, and I've seen the consequential impact it's had on their lives. Don't let it happen to you through inaction. I've decided it would not happen to me through my inaction. So I no longer add sugar to my diet. There's ample sugar already in the food that I consume. Similarly, salt. Again, one of those almost pernicious ingredients we add for enhanced flavoring, as it were. Yeah, we acquire the taste of salt, but actually, it's one of the causal reasons for hardening of arteries. Yeah, the increase in the blood pressure because your heart is pushing and pushing, taking far more energy to push that blood through your arteries, through your veins. So the heightening of your blood pressure leaves you vulnerable to all sorts of maladies, particularly aneurysms. And I'm confident when I say that each of you listening to this and viewing this show will recognize someone in your family or immediate networks with diabetes and high blood pressure. It is extremely prevalent in the African heritage communities, whether you're from West Africa primarily or indeed from the Caribbean, the Americas or here in Britain, here in Europe. Our exposure to sugar and salt is very high. So I simply ask you to consider the amount of sugar and salt that you are consuming. That's all. I ask you to consider. If in doubt, please seek out professional advice. Speak to your doctor, speak to your nutritional pharmacist or your nutritionist. They will provide the advice that is quite really designed for yourselves. But no action, please, is not in your best interest. I also ask you to consider the amount of fat and carbohydrates that you consume. Now, fat is one of these interesting items, because if you buy your meat, you see the white streaks in the beef, let's say, yeah, or you're grilling it, you see all the clear fluid coming out. Yes, it's water, but a fair proportion of that is fat. Again, I remind my audience, I remind my listeners that dairy products are simply another form of bovine fat, or cow's fat, if you like. It's hardened cow's fat, if you like. Cheese is hard cow's fat. You know, imagine what it's doing to your body. Yeah, margarine is not so hard cow's fat. Butter, not so hard cow's fat. Mm-hmm. Imagine what it's doing to your body when it gets clogged up in your veins and your arteries. Just imagine if you do this, not every day, you do this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the cumulative impact it has on your bodies. Okay? And of course, some of the oils that we cook our food in is high in cholesterol. I ask you to consider the amount of fat that you are consuming. Simply ask you to consider it, and consider the long-term impact, and consider reducing the consumption wherever possible. Gradual reduction is what I recommend. Okay? Carbohydrates, of course, primarily derived in our case from wheat-based products. But of course, what do we do with carbohydrates? We store it in our bodies. So we see many members of our communities with bloated shoulders, bloated abdomens, bloated thighs, bloated buttocks, or bottoms in polite company, if you like. Yes, it's fat. And fat means that your body's working harder. You're carrying excess weight around you. A BMI above 25, yeah, means you're overweight, or indeed, the technical term is obese. And there's good analysis for our women, particularly in United States of America and here in Britain. In some cases, 60, 70% are overweight, and of a similar quantum, they are obese. Sorry, morbidly obese. In other words, they are dangerously overweight. It is unnecessary. It is avoidable. I urge you to hear this message. I urge you to hear this message. I say this, but I do not gain financially. Yep. I don't gain in esteem even. Yep. I won't even hear your kind words. I do this because I'm also an elected official. And I've seen the official stats, the reality, the actions we subconsciously impose upon ourselves that ultimately harm ourselves. Excessive consumption of sugar and salt, carbohydrates and fat, excessive consumption over periods of time for many people proves harmful. So I simply ask you to consider gradual reductions. And the last ingredient that particularly comes up in the official document, of course, is the overconsumption of starch. In our case, primarily derived from either root-based vegetables, such as the yams. Yes, I hear you both from the Caribbean and West Africa and other parts of the motherland. I hear you. Yam, yes, indeed. Overconsumption of yam. Okay. Or indeed, the overconsumption of rice, which is basically just starch. Again, we store it in our body for a rainy day, which never comes. Okay? And we create for ourselves health complications. I know it's difficult. I know these are difficult messages to hear, because what I'm encouraging you to do is to empower yourself to change, to modify your diet. The nutritionists, the professionals say, we should consume far more fruits and vegetables. That's what the professionals say. Consumption of fruits and vegetables, okay? Particularly the green vegetables, those vegetables which are a broad range, but those vegetables that, are rich in iron and other nutrients, trace minerals, yeah? That's what our body crave. We can convert that into blood, yeah, into plasma, if you like. Mhm. That's what our bodies crave. That's what our body is built upon. Yeah. Yes, eat meat, but in the right consumption, no more than 4 or 5% of your total nutritional intake. Okay. I know for many it's far higher, and I get it, I get it, I get it. Don't worry. But together, we can change, not only for ourselves, but for our families and those who respect us. So we are the change makers. Mhm. I hope that makes sense to you. We are together the change makers. Fruits and vegetables, particularly green vegetables, but a broad range of vegetables is what's recommended. It's also recommended that you should consume the appropriate amount of water, depending upon your height and your mass, between 2 to 3 liters of water per day. Okay. In my case, I put a little bit of lemon in it occasionally, or I put other little things to make sure the water is interesting. There you are. I consume the water, 2 to 3 liters of water per day. I hope this message receives you well. If you can achieve this, your general health, it will not improve overnight, but you're on the right track. You're on the right track. And of course, it doesn't mean a darn thing if you're not exercising. You know? I encounter many members of our community who are beginning to eat well, but have not done a day's worth of exercise for many years. It is recommended that you exercise every day. In my case, I most certainly exercise every day. I do a good run around our local park, okay? And I come back here feeling so alive, so empowered, able to take on all the trials and tribulations and pleasures for the day. Exercise is vital, Good run, exercise your body, stretch and pull where necessary. And I've got my weights here. There we are. I have my weights. There you are. Yes, I use my weights. I love my weights, okay? And why do I love it? Because I'm pushing these muscles. I live this sedentary lifestyle. I'm office-based, as it were, And I'm not a manual worker, unfortunately. I'm an office-based person. Therefore, it's even more important that I exercise every day because your body demands it. Failing to do so, then your body will make sure you pay the price. It is vital. It is vital as part of your general health regime that not only do you eat far more fruits and vegetables, drink the appropriate amount of water, but you exercise every day. All right. I hope that message in terms of the physical side, it receives you well. And I hope it's understood why I communicate these messages to you for the first 15, 20 minutes of the show. Because I've seen the stats. They make for uncomfortable reading. And therefore, it's up to us, the community, to take responsibility for the general health of our communities. Particularly those of us of African heritage, whether from the Caribbean or from the motherland directly, in the Americas or here in Europe. It is critical that we take responsibility for the community's general health. And as elected official, I absolutely take responsibility to communicate with our common sense messages to you. It's difficult at first. It took over 10 years for me to reduce significantly my sugar intake. I no longer purchase sugar from the grocery store. I most certainly do not purchase salt from the grocery stores. Okay? It is difficult. I hear you, because you don't want to change. I get it. And many of you won't be affected. But there are far too many who have suppressed immunoresponses, because of lack of exercise and eating relatively badly. Okay, it's your choice. Okay, it is your choice. Okay, and this concludes this section by reminding you not only do you take care of your bodies, obviously, but you should take care of your mind, and your spiritual self. And if in doubt, if you're feeling uncertain about your mental health, I urge you to speak to whoever you trust, but most certainly go and see your local doctor, GP, whoever you trust to speak about such matters with. Okay. These are vital conversations if you have any doubt about your mental health. I urge you to do so. I urge you to do so. But of course, we as African peoples are, of course, spiritual people. And you should take care of your spiritual health as well. In my case, I meditate each day for at least 30 minutes to an hour each day. It provides a focus, it creates a certainty, and it absolutely raises my energy levels. Okay. But speak to your spiritual advisor. That person is best able to provide advice. But seek out advice if you've not sought advice previously. Because your health is my health. We are but one family, and we have to take care of each other. Okay, you don't have to be directly related to me by blood, by virtue that we are of the same community, and we are specifically affected by these conditions. We are therefore obliged to take care of each other. We are our brothers and sisters' keepers. I hope that makes sense to you all. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay. Thank you. So I will conclude that part of the show. But if you've got any questions, please, you can communicate with the studio via the chat facility. If you're viewing us via YouTube or Facebook, I welcome that interaction with yourselves, okay? And I'm going to say, and good morning to you, Carmen. Oh, in fact, let me give a big shout out to Carmen, who's the Chief Executive of the Camberwell After School Project. And many of you will know that encountered some financial difficulties during this time of year, but it's an outstanding organization. It's been in operation for 30 years or so. Okay, my own children, I must say, a little while ago, attended the Camberwell After School Project. Okay, an outstanding example of the community coming together, recognizing that we needed assets that supported our community. The Camberwell After School Project, an example of the manifestation of our ambitions for the community. It's going through some trying times. We need to give it support. I'm going to put it on the screen now. I'm going to put on the screen what they are now seeking. If I get this right. There we go. So they're seeking to raise £5,000. Okay, I've spoken to Carmen, and she confirms that thus far they've raised £4,064. Okay, the crowdfunder will close, I understand, on the 21st or thereabouts of August. So if you haven't made a donation, I urge you to do so. So if those of you who are viewing us on screen, you can see the URL. And if you go to www.crowdfunder, as it sounds, .co.uk, then it's /P, then / and here, and listen to this very carefully, is help, then a dash, save, dash, our, dash, childcare, dash, provisions, okay? If that's difficult, go to the Camberwell After School Project website, which is www.casforsugarpuk.org. That is their website address, and there's a further link that will take you to the crowdfunder. Okay, so please, I urge the community to give support to the Camberwell After School Project. Okay, I equally urge the community to support children. Okay, again, right across the country, there are examples of ordinary people coming together and setting up Saturday schools, supplementary schools for our children. This is an example of our high civilization, if you like, our caring for each other. It manifests through the efforts we put in understanding, bringing children together, having been taught together, creates a stronger community in the future. So if a child is having difficulty at school, these facilities were set up by the community in support of our children. Okay, so I'm put everything on the screen. So I want to give a big shout out to Brother Near of the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. Outstanding work that he's doing, and I want to give a big thumbs up to all of you involved in supporting our children. Okay, who are managing or teaching or indeed supporting a Saturday school, a supplementary school, either in the community centres and local church or mosque or temple. Please continue to give them support. If you're unsure where these schools might be found, you can either go to the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools website, which is www.nabss.org.uk, nabss.org.uk, or indeed you can send an email at info@nabss.org.uk, or you can phone Brother Nair on 07958 348 558. They've committed themselves to supporting our children. Okay, and many of you who are involved will recognise they do not make a profit. They do this for love. Yep, I say again, they do this for love. High civilization. Another example of our high civilization, We don't do it for greed or for profit. We do it for love because we understand the importance of community. So I urge you to give support to the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. And if you can find your local supplementary school, please give them support. It's not purely academic, it's also culture and tradition that they teach our children. A vital part of our community. I'll take it off the screen now. There you are, an important development. So I would give support to them. Let's not allow them to stay by the wayside. Okay, give them the support, your support, because they deserve your support. Okay, so now I've said that, what I want to do now is now prepare for the great debate. I'm just going to set up some of the equipment here. The great debate, Jamaica. Yes, I know. I typically focus on Nigeria, great Nigeria, and it remains a great country. And we need to get Ndidi back in the studio. But of course, she will argue that the Nigerian constitution is a fraud. It is not one that Nigerians voted for. It was imposed upon them. You know what? We've got a similar conversation in Jamaica as well. Okay? Seeking ways to change the arrangement between Jamaica and Britain. Mm-hmm. And I've had cause, therefore, to read the Jamaican constitution. And equally, I've had cause to read the Bank of Jamaica Act as well. Both documents should be read together. I've now read them, studied. I'm now prepared for the great debate today. There is much learning to share with you all. Much learning. And why do I say that? Because what I've learned, I'm very annoyed with myself. Because really, I should have acquired this knowledge some time ago. Let me make a slight adjustment to my camera here. That's perfect. I should have acquired this knowledge some time ago. And in fact, I'm remiss. I take responsibility. I'm remiss that I didn't have that knowledge some time ago. I relied upon others to relay it further forthand. And that's not my normal practice. But in my public life, when I have to read large, complex documents, I've now become accustomed to them. And I must say, the Constitution of Jamaica and the Bank of Jamaica Act, 1960, are two documents which have shaped Jamaica and make it the country what it is today. And I'm not saying that in a positive way either, okay? Because I'm very annoyed that I hadn't read it prior to this, but never mind. It's always the right time when it comes. So I'm going to play a short video of a piece of research a young lady committed. Okay, let me just get it up and running. And this video will, in so many ways, exemplify what's been going on. Okay. And I can assure you, when you see this video, you will be shocked. Okay. This video isn't one that relates a possibility. This is what actually is happening. Okay, so give me a moment. I'm now going to set it up, and you're going to see it for yourselves. Okay, I'm just going to check all the system looks correct. Okay, let's get going. Listen carefully to what this young lady says, because I've checked it, and validated its content. There you go.
Jamaican independence. Did Jamaica really become independent? No. And what did we get in independence apart from a flag and an anthem? Not a fucking thing. So in 1692, when colonial government was set up, just remember this, they took over in 1665 and named the island Jamaica in 1691. Anyway.
You must forgive me, my people. That wasn't the version. I obviously didn't want to play that particular version. I'm sorry. I'm just going to take it out. It's the other version that I needed to play. I'm sorry about that. And there are no. I've taken out all the expletives. So yes, I'm sorry about that. There we go. Right. Let's do it again. Right. There we go. I'm going to start again. There we go.
Jamaican independence. Did Jamaica really become independent? No. And what did we get in independence apart from a flag and an anthem? No. So in 1692, when colonial government was set up, just remember this, they took over in 1665 and named the island Jamaica in 1691. Anyways, the government consisted of a governor, executive council, magistrates court, and a court of admiralty. These courts are what we call today as maritime courts, meaning they have nothing to do with law or common law. The governor was also known as the Lord of the Land, and he was also the commander for the Jamaican militia. The Jamaican militia today is what we know as JDF. The army was and still being used as their personal bodyguards. Now you might say I'm wrong, but ask yourself this. When has a Jamaican soldier ever been deployed to fight a war against another country? Never. All they do is fight Jamaican people by keeping us in order. That's why I call it a personal army. Go to part 2. Welcome back. By 1962, the black population became the superior majority, meaning that there was more black Africans more than any other racial group within the Caribbean at that time. So they know they couldn't continue with the same systems they had oppressing black people. So to appease black citizens and white colonists, the Crown decided to hand over some responsibility to the desegregated local parliament, basically letting some Negroes in. And that's all we got. Don't believe me? This is what the Independence Act of 1962 did not do for us, because I read the act. It did not relinquish the Queen's claim and dominion over the island. She still owns it. It did not return ownership and resources of the land back to the people. We don't own them. It did not restore indigenous rights or birthrights, inheritance. It did not recompensate the wealth that was stolen from the natives during slavery for over 400 years. It did not remove the Queen as head of state. She is still very much there. Remember the time when the government said that they want to remove the Queen and make Jamaica a republic? Find out in part 3. Hello. Like I was saying, the government does not have the authority to remove the Queen as head of state, because they work for her. The Queen owns the island, so the governments are her employees. How can you take something legally from someone who already owns it? They only do it to get elected. Anyways, it did not rescind the Governor General as Lord of the Land. He still is. Also, he is still the commanding chief of the military. Remember that time when Bruce Golding wanted to send army into Tivoli? He had to ask for permission, and the governor has to issue a state of emergency in order for the army to go in. Bottom line, the government doesn't own the army. The army is still the Jamaican militia, and is there for the chief governor to control. Anyways, it did not revoke the birth certificate bonds under citizenry. We still bonded. I'll make a separate video about that. And it did not resolve the debts that was accrued upon the people. This so-called independent nation started off flat, broke, no money, debt, broke. Go to part 3. So like I said, Jamaica started out flat broke. And because of this, the government of Jamaica and the Bank of Jamaica, which is owned by the Queen as well, this is in the Bank of Jamaica Act 1960, soon started to borrow large sums of money from predatory multinational lenders, like the International Monetary Fund, you lot know as the IMF, the World Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB. Those banks carry high interest rates and harsh penalty fees, one of them being known as the Structural Adjustment Policy. Keep that in mind. Here's an example of a structural adjustment policy. Jamaica has 3 million people currently living on the island, but only 6 post-service general hospitals. Portmore is the most popular parish on the island and they still don't have a hospital. You know why they don't have a hospital? because of the structural adjustment policies. Because of this policy, when the IMF lends you money, they can tell you what they want you to spend it on. And they told us explicitly that we can't build no new schools or hospitals. Part 5. Welcome to part 5. This is part of the reason why Jamaica has not built a new school in over 20 years and a hospital in over 30 years. And that is why, which is the grip of poverty in Jamaica. Another negative impact that these policies have on Jamaica is to force the country to sell out its resources. We don't own the bauxite, nor the tourism, nor the airlines, or the airports, agriculture, utilities, or the highways. The 6th of this month will be 58 years since our independence, and these policies are still running our country. They dictate everything, from the value of the dollar to the rate of income tax, to what schools they open or what roads get fixed. Today, every half of a dollar that you pay in tax goes towards serving that debt. The other half goes to royalties and other bondholders. Bottom line, your tax doesn't finance Jamaica. The end result is a bankrupt country with a useless currency and a population working to serve a debt that we did not accumulate. And finally, take yourselves over to part 6. Hi, welcome to part 6. There is a group in Washington, D.C. called the Center Correspondent for Economy. They published a report in 2015. And in that report, they declared that Jamaica was the most indebted country in the world. That means that out of all 198 countries on earth, we're the only ones who owe so much money relative to the size of our economy. Like, our debt exceeds the country's GDP. Meaning that the debt cannot possibly be repaid because you weren't meant to repay it. You were only meant to have a group of people working to service the debt, not to pay it off. Meaning that Europe still has their fingers, toenails, earlobes, eyelashes, everything in that cute little country we call Jamaica. So please know this, I don't make these videos to offend anyone. I make them to educate and to let people understand that as Black people, we still struggling, even in our own country. Thank you for watching.
Wow. It's surprising, isn't it? It's not dissimilar to Ndidi discussing Nigeria, a constitution which is set up in such a way that it works against the interest of ordinary Jamaicans, you know. And I've checked every claim she's made in this video and found it to be robust. I found it to be accurate. And I have to say, I was somewhat annoyed with myself. I was unaware of these facts. Yeah, we need change. And today is an opportunity to discuss a future Jamaica. Okay? We can have a debate on changes to our constitution as Jamaicans. Okay? We can have a debate. What is our ambition for Jamaica, our aspiration for that little island in the Caribbean Sea, okay, which sits right at the very top of a big mountainous area in the Caribbean Sea. Yeah, we need to have this discussion because what the young lady has described is accurate. It is actually accurate, and what I found even more profound is that when I started to do my own research, because you can't always just take what someone says. You've got to check it out for yourself, validate it for yourself, ensure the information being shared is accurate. Okay. When I did the due diligence, what I was astonished by is my level of naivete. Yeah. You see, if we were to look at the Constitution, I'll just spend maybe only a minute or so before bringing in my debaters. Okay, as you can see on the screen, this is an excerpt from the Jamaican Constitution, and there is an interesting section here, and I just want to focus on it. There we go. Yeah, Section 9 of the Constitution. Okay. Now it does appear that the Governor General can override laws made by Parliament. Mm-hmm. The Governor General is not appointed by Jamaicans, it's appointed by the monarch based here in London. Okay? The Queen, now King of Jamaica, is the same king here in Britain. Okay? But the monarch here owns Jamaica for all intents and purposes, because there's the other important document I mentioned, and that is the Bank of Jamaica Act 1960, which ensures that the monarch here, through the Governor General, totally controls finance, the resources of Jamaica. And that's just the beginning of what I could describe. Okay. It is quite unsettling, to say the least. And what I put in front of you at the moment are excerpts from the Constitution. Okay. And let's see this section here. The Governor General may, by order made at any time within a period of 2 years, commencing with the appointment day and published in the Gazette, make such adaptation and modification to any law which continued in force in Jamaica. I pause. I want all Jamaicans to hear that. I'm going to say it again. The Governor General may, by order made at any time within the period of 2 years commencing with the appointment day and published in the Gazette, make such adaptation and modification to any law which continues in force in Jamaica. Why have a democracy if the Governor General can override any law? Let's consider the implication. That's just one of many examples. I read through this document. I was truly annoyed. Truly annoyed. Because we claim to be independent, but clearly we are dependent. And that's the most unsatisfactory situation to find ourselves in. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask my bring in my debaters. Okay, some will argue for the status quo. Others will argue for a change for us to become a republic. Others will argue that we should create a Jamaican-centered royal family and use them as a magnet for investment and tourism and so on, just as we do in Britain. Okay, so I'm going to bring them in. Let's hope that all parties are on time. Remember, African time is the most precise time in the world. Anyway, let's bring them in, shall we? Let's bring in my first of my debaters. Have I got it in? Have I got Councillor Juliet Campbell?
You do indeed. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well.
Oh, you're looking, you don't mind me saying, you're looking wonderful and fresh.
Early morning Saturdays.
Blessed, good, and thank you for joining us. And just stay right there. Let's see if I can bring my second guest. Motondo. Let's see are you there, my second guest? Let's see if I can bring him in. Oh, you are there. Good morning, Motondo. How are you?
Good morning, and good morning to your other guests.
Thank you.
I'm well.
Good. Now, the other two are a little late, but never mind. We're going to just keep moving forward. We're not waiting, okay? Because you know that Jamaica cannot wait, yeah? Jamaica demands attention, okay? Our attention, okay? Oh, I will just bring in one third person who's not a debater, but will be a commentator, okay? I'll bring in this person. Let me bring in this person now. Good morning to you, Gareth. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Brother Campbell and Sister Campbell. Hi, good morning. How are you both? I hope you're both very well.
Okay. And we are just waiting for one other person, but we will not wait immediately. We're going to keep moving forward. I'm going to ask, before I begin the debate, I'm going to ask both my debaters to really just introduce themselves to the audience so that we know who you are. A minute. If I go to Councillor Campbell first of all.
Okay, good morning. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Juliet Campbell. I am a councillor in South London, and I'm also a cabinet member. I'm here today because my parents are Jamaican, and I feel as if I have a vested interest in the future of Jamaica. And when looking at this debate, and it's come up in many forums and different places, I really felt quite strongly about one particular option that has been put out there. So I'm here today to talk about that option, and I really do look forward to hearing everybody else's contribution to this debate. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Juliet. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for taking the time out to be a member of this panel. Matundu, can I ask you now to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, good day to everyone. My name is Matondo Mukulu. I am Jamaican and I am a practicing barrister. I enjoy constitutional issues, and on a personal note, I'm a father, and I'm happy to be here.
Good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm going to just ask my third guest, who I believe is trying to contact. Can I ask my third guest to call in again? We'll see if we can connect you. He's using a slightly different method to connect to the studio, so don't you worry. We'll come back to him in a moment. And can I ask, Gareth, can you just introduce yourself? You're just one of our commentators.
So yeah, I'm just one of your commentators, but my name is Gareth Gilfillian. Again, as you'd expect, I'm a fervent Jamaican, believing very much in our history and how it's shaped our current condition. I also, like Matundu and perhaps other people on this who are listening, have children, and I'm most interested in having those children return, or at least have a substantial interest in Jamaica. I'm also a member. I'll open and declare my allegiances. I'm a member of the People's National Party of Jamaica, party that people would normally associate very closely with Michael Manley, but which is also closely associated with progressive movements, progressive changes in Jamaica. So there I am. I'm looking forward to hearing both Brother Kamu and Sister Campbell, Edith Campbell, and they're hearing the contributions to the debate about constitutional change in Jamaica. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Thank you very much indeed. Again, just ask my other presenters to try again. I can see you come up on the screen, but for some reason you cut off. So you wish to try again, then I can introduce you. But I think we'll get the debate underway. And I want to make sure that we have as much time as possible to have some cross questioning. So, Juliet, would you like to go first? Would you like to present your position? First of all, just state what your initial position is and then explain why.
Okay, thank you very much. Wasn't expecting to be first, but here we go. So,
okay, go on. Go ahead. Go on.
So the position that I have is that Jamaica would, I don't actually remember the actual words of the option, but my option would be is that we would have a prime minister, and we would also, are you struggling to hear me?
Yeah,
I can see my other presenter doing this.
Okay, that's all.
Is that better?
Yes,
brilliant.
I can hear you. Yeah.
So my position is that we would have continue to have a prime minister, but we would also have a non-executive president. So that is the option that I will be going for.
Okay. Explain why. Why do you believe that's meritable for Jamaica?
Okay. So when I first considered speaking in favor of this model, the question I asked myself was, what is the problem that we aim to fix? Is it that after 60 years of independence, Jamaica is ready to redefine our relationship with the UK? Is it that there's a desire to address some of the infrastructure and constitutional challenges that have been defined and are understood by the Jamaican population and further afield? Or is it that we are ready, is it that Jamaica is ready to propel itself and its citizens into the future with a purpose that has been previously denied to us because of the colonial past and the enslavement of African people? And I concluded that it was a combination of these things. But I also think, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Jamaica needs to keep some of its historical and democratic mandate. And this model would retain a prime minister or head of government who is responsible for directing the administration and setting the executive policy, so legislation, and to direct the powers of the state, which includes the civil service and the armed forces. Now, this model would also introduce a non-executive president. And it means having a parliamentary system that separates the function of the head of government, which is the Prime Minister, and the head of the state, which is the non-executive president, which I will argue will be in the best interest of Jamaicans and Jamaica and the diaspora. Now, we already understand what the role of a Prime Minister is. So what is the role of a non-executive president? Now, there are several options across the world, and Jamaica will be able to choose which model of this non-executive president they would choose and decide what powers that person had too. So my vision for Jamaica is that a non-executive president would be a symbolic leader of the state who performs a representative and civic role, but it doesn't exercise executive or policy-making power. There'd be a figure of national unity, serving as a representative for the nation, promoting Jamaica's image and reputation, both at home and abroad. They would speak to national identities, core values, and the aspiration of Jamaican people. And they would also be politically neutral. Therefore, they'll be able to moderate political conflicts. They may have some limited functions, such as a constitutional guardian. They might, for example, have some discretionary power to nominate a prime minister, to dissolve parliament, to make non-political appointments, and perhaps even veto legislation or call a referendum. So having a non-executive president would ensure that there'll be no power vacuum when the office of prime minister is vacant. So, for example, when forming a government, sometimes it takes longer than expected, and we have a caretaker cabinet in office. Or when a parliament is dissolved, the non-executive president will be a symbol that while there's no government in place, the state is still functioning. They symbolically ensure that those who lead the government understand that they answer to a higher power, and that the leader of a ruling party or a coalition is subordinate to a non-partisan whole. Now, history has shown us that there can be challenges in any democratic system, and change can bring with it its own set of upheavals. So as Jamaica stands on the precipice of change, which I believe it is, we know that there are some urgent constitutional amendments that are required. Not fully changed, just some amendments, and some constitutional elements that need to be adhered to and carried out with. So it's there to protect all Jamaicans. And our constitution not being adhered to has for far too long held the country back. That is my belief. So I say, let's seize this opportunity to build Jamaica, a Jamaica that is fair, where education is free right through to secondary or sixth form, where healthcare is accessible for all and is not based on wealth, where the economy is allowed to flourish. Let's build a Jamaica that is known for specialisms, and it could be IT, medicine, science, engineering, environmental leaps, or the arts, where the entrepreneurial and the aspirational choose to stay rather than go to foreign.
Okay.
Is that my 5 minutes over?
Here's almost, yes, go on, just finish off your sentence. Go on.
Okay, so probably a minute. Let's learn from the examples of Ireland, Greece, Bangladesh, Dominica, Germany, India, Italy, Lebanon, Austria, Malta, Morocco, Sweden, Japan, and Israel, who all operate under a prime minister in a non-executive system. So the question is, what is the problem that we aim to change? We want Jamaican leaders to have the power to make constitutional amendments that meet the needs of all Jamaicans without external interference, to control its finance and its legal system, where no single person, institution, or ruling power over Jamaica has ruling power over Jamaican people, the nation, the constitution, or its diaspora.
Thank you so much. Well said. Well, very clear. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I may now go to you, Rotundo, and would you like to present? I suspect your positions are quite similar, but I'd be interested to see where there are differences. Rotundo, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning again. My preference is certainly for Jamaica to have an executive president whilst still retaining the role for now, of a prime minister. And I say for now because I think in generations to come, there will be more radical ideas commensurate with the progression of a people as they start asking the simple question of how is it that we can alter the way in which we govern ourselves. But for present purposes, there are, in my view, benefits, enormous benefits, of Jamaica taking the decision to become a republic, and in my view, to have as its head of state an executive president. One of the things that we seem not to remember is that as head of state, he or she who occupies that position occupies a symbolic position. And a lot of persons have asked, well, what is there that we can gain if we were to remove the current head of state? And I say, in simple answer to that, you will be removing a symbol that was there, not by accident. And it is a symbol that must be removed because our people must aspire to see themselves in the highest positions of authority. And we cannot underestimate that. And if you had any doubts as to the value of that, I suggest that we consult this paper that was written some time ago by a celebrated author of the period. The pamphlet notebook is entitled The Myth of a Civilizing Mission, British Colonialism and the Politics of Symbolic Manipulation. Now, in my view, the very fact that at the apex of our governance structure sits a power that is alien to us is cause for concern. But that's on the symbolic level, but nonetheless a meaningful level. And that change, I think, is overdue. And I'm struggling to find anyone who will seriously tell me that that's not a worthy objective. Symbols must look and feel like the people that they are meant to represent. But on a more practical level, I say when we move towards a republic and have an executive president, we will be changing a governance structure to bring about a greater degree of accountability. And how do you get that? An accountability that reduces the chances of or the chance of political bias and the over politicization of our system. And by that I mean an executive president, as conceptualized in my mind, must be a president that has the power to select some members of cabinet. And when you do that, you reduce, in my view, the dominance of the political party in the affairs of government. And important as political parties are, and I believe they're very important, there must be a guard against the over involvement of political parties, and this, for the simple reason they're there to advance their cause. When you have an executive president who has the opportunity to select members of the cabinet who do not necessarily fall within the dichotomy that presently exists, then I think we will make a step towards improving, certainly altering our governance structure with the aim of improving delivery that's not constrained and significantly influenced by political considerations. You might get into the conversation about how do you select that executive president, but I say that is not beyond our capacity to work out. But those to me are the two primary benefits. I mean, if you take it, if you look at the whole issue of governance and accountability, presently in our structure, we have, for all intents and purposes, a non-executive head of state who nonetheless wields a significant amount of power. He or she, or in present case, he, in the form of the Governor General, effectively selects your head of a prosecutorial service. They select other key office holders, such as your Auditor General. And whilst it is said, well, and Dr. Stephen Vassiani makes his point, that the powers of the Governor General are principally limited in both their scope and both the scope and reach because of the political realities, I say it's power nonetheless. And an unaccountable individual ought not to be retained who will wield that sort of power. An executive president will be more accountable to the people, and I'm assuming there when I say that person will be selected via a process that is as close to democratic as possible. We have a representative democracy in Jamaica, and it is my view that members of both houses of parliament, sitting separately, should select and the executive president with the authorization, of course, of the people of Jamaica. But there are two practical benefits: symbolic and the accountability.
I'll give you one more minute. 1 more minute.
Thank you very much. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, there are questions that I would generate. I'm going to resolve my other colleague connection. Can I ask for Comrade Gareth to comment on what you've heard so far as one of our commentators? Go ahead.
Okay, there are several things. This discussion is fraught with a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges. Some of them, a lot of them emerging from our past. I think one of the most important things that has been referred to, or one conclusion that can be reached, is that we all agree that the current situation regarding a constitutional monarch is not acceptable. It's not suitable for purpose. It's not going to take us forward anywhere. It hasn't worked in the past, and it's not likely to work in the future. So we need to get rid of it, and that we can all quite easily agree on. There also seemed to be agreement on the tenor of our progress, which is that we are from African stock. We are African people. We're transported forcibly to Caribbean island, and we should reclaim our identity. That identity ought to be part of any reformation or amendment made to the Jamaican Constitution to reflect who we are. That is also critically important in respect of establishing our aspirations and acknowledging our past as well. Critically important. Now, it's also agreed that I think that the Constitution so far has not served its purpose. Jamaica has little to no growth since the year of its independence, and it's projected that this will continue up until 2028 at least under the current situation. So again, we see very clear need for changes to the Constitution. Now, the type of changes that are required, again, we see there's agreement on it. So we need to get rid of the constitutional monarch, that's fine. An executive president or a non-executive president. Interestingly, from the comments made by Judith, if I may refer to you as Judith, Sister Campbell, from the comments made by
Juliet.
Excuse me?
Juliet,
thank you. From the comments made by Juliet, it's although she says that we need a non-executive president, she also seemed to agree that we need a president that has powers as well, which effectively suggests an executive president too, which again confers with the suggestion that's been made by Kamu Matundu. So there is already a basis for agreement and basis for development without much contention. So I look forward to what the next phase of discussion.
All righty. Thank you for that initial introduction. I'm having difficulty connecting our third and fourth contributors. They seem to be having some difficulty here, but I'll hopefully resolve it as the program proceeds. There are questions for each of the presenters so far, which I want to address. So if I may go first of all to Councillor, or Juliet indeed, to Juliet. Okay. First of all, non-executive president is symbolic. Okay. It sounded to me that you are arguing for someone who's democratically elected, I'm assuming, as opposed to being appointed. Okay, am I right? Someone who's democratically elected by the people or appointed by Parliament. Which of the two are you arguing for? It's unclear.
So my argument. So I thought I was very succinct, but clearly not. So for me, it was very much a non-executive, and it would be an appointed person, not somebody who is voted in. So quite different from the executive president. And the importance to me is that that person will be non-partisan. And that would be my concern with an executive president, is that they would be politically aligned. And so that is the biggest part of my argument, is that they would be non-partisan, so that they would be able to be independent in their thinking.
Okay.
The challenge for a elected
to that, before you come to that, and I asked the question purely for clarification to ensure the audience understood what you meant. I guess what you meant. The appointment process, I recognise and you recognise, in fact we all recognise how one would appoint a non-executive director, for example, to a hospital trust, for example. If I can pick up this call. If I could pick up this call, I can't put the call for some reason. One moment, if I can resolve that. No, I can't resolve it. I can't see the little icon. Well, I might need someone to help with the phone system here. 1 second. It is not allowing me to pick up. Never mind. Let's close that down, shall we? Silent for a moment. For some reason, not allowing me to pick up this call. I'm pretty sure that's okay. There we go. I've got it now. I think I've got it. Caller, are you on the line? No. Okay, never mind. So I think we're all clear how a non-executive director, if this were in the public sector, will be appointed and go through an appointment board, assessed based upon merit, their suitability for the role, based upon skills and other attributes. How would this non-partisan person be selected in your mind? I get it, but the selection process is one that I would have thought is fraught with political influences, or am I wrong?
There's not to say that there isn't a challenge, and the detail of how that selection process, I haven't formulated that entirely in my mind. Okay. The part for me is around the knowledge and skills, and that they are non-partisan. Who would select? It could potentially, I've thought about it, but I haven't brought it down to its nitty-gritty. But who would select would be a set of people, a group of people that have different interests, that are not necessarily politically aligned. And I know that some people would argue that everybody is politically aligned in some way or another, but not necessarily at the forefront of their priorities. So for example, if you are a health professional, your priority would be the health of the nation as opposed to which political party could deliver that. So it would be a cross section of, it could be civil servants, it could be communities, it could be professionals. It is a set of people that would have an understanding of what is needed from a non-executive president.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. There are other sub-questions I want to address, but if I may go to Tundu first of all. And based upon your presentation, and I've understood what you've said, that in the interim, you'd like to see an executive president. Why the interim? What is the goal? What is the destination point you're seeking to arrive at?
Well, I think ultimately we have to ask ourselves if we want to continue in the next 50, 70 years of having a prime minister and a president. It's effectively a situation where we have inherited and adopted and maintained the system that we were familiar with in 1962. Guyana chose a different path. It was quite deliberate in doing so. And I think ultimately we will have to ask those sort of questions if we want to change that arrangement. And I don't for a second pretend to have any expertise in predicting the future, but I think we will get to that point. And I say that because people will start asking the question, why retain both?
Okay. All right. And if I may just press you a little further, because I know that you are legally trained. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And once I'm a politician, politicians and legal sectors tend to go quite well together, if I may say so. And if I may, it is. Let me pick up on this call. This is a overseas call. I wasn't going to. In fact, I will take this call. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. If this works, there we go. Oh. Yes. There we go. We'll try one more time. Here we go. Just pick it up now. Caller, are you on the line?
Hello.
Yes, good morning to you. Who do I have on the line?
Good morning.
And who do we have on the line?
This is Professor Taylor.
Good morning to you, Professor Taylor. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry you've had difficulty connecting.
Yes.
That's okay. Now, were you able to hear the initial presenters? I've asked them to, and forgive me for the audience and presenters, that Professor Taylor is the third contributor, okay? And I'm going to ask him just to introduce himself, first of all, just to say who you are and what you do. And then I'm going to ask you to make a short 5-minute presentation on your position in relation to should Jamaica go republic, and if so, what form of republic of state should it apply? So first of all, Professor, can I ask you just to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Martin.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Earl Taylor, and I'm formerly Vice Chancellor of the International University of Management. My business, I'm Professor for Strategic Management, Entrepreneurship, and Public Policy. And I'm also now the Honorary Consul for Jamaica in Namibia.
Thank you.
I've been involved I was once elected senator in Jamaica, and I've been training politicians and parliamentarians and diplomats across the SADC region. I have written also quite a bit on the remodeling, the reconfiguration of Jamaica, following a decision to go or to leave the monarchy behind. So I have a view that I would like to share.
Please go
if
ahead,
possible.
Professor. Please go ahead and share your view. Well, I'll give you 5 minutes.
Yes.
5 minutes. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I believe the time has come when Jamaica needs to exercise its own independence. And it could not under the architecture that currently exists, because it's a border of architecture. Jamaica was never a part of the kingdom of UK, the United Kingdom. It was never part of the monarchy. And with the decolonization of Jamaica and so many other countries having gotten independence, they need to take responsibility, full responsibility, and so that's decision. On the basis of where and how, I take the view that there has to be a president. And, a president.
I'm sorry, Professor, we didn't quite hear you. Did you say executive president? Did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
But I would contextualize it in a little different way. It is a president that is responsible and accountable to the people. And that means that president should be elected on its own by the people, not mixed up with the other political parties. He may or may not have a political view, but he is independently elected as the president of the country. And that election is not done to confuse or to be confused with the political parties. And it is that president who will choose the cabinet. The cabinet would be composed of both persons from parliament or from MPs, as well as private sector. So he will have a free hand to make sure that he has the best, he or she has the best person to do the job for Jamaica. That implies that the parliament will be elected in a different way, whereby the MPs are driven by not so much by the constituencies, but by the areas in which they control. And I could explain that. So the executive president reports and accountable to the people, can be changed by the people. Because one of the things that we do not want is to have a president who believes he's a king, or is there and nobody can change him.
Okay.
It is people, and is elected for a specific purpose and a time period. And he reports regularly to the parliament on the state of the nation. And the parliament is also able to get his selection of views to make sure that the parliament is in consonant with his views as well. But the parliament is multi-sectoral, multi-divisional, multi-party, so to speak.
Okay.
So there will be confusion there. The president has the absolute power in running the administration.
Thank you, Professor.
There will be a prime minister.
There will be a
prime minister who is elected by the parliament.
Okay, all right. Can I ask you just to run for a moment, Professor?
The administration of government.
Sorry, Professor, can I ask you just to pause, because you've used up your 5 minutes, and that was pretty clear, your position. I'm going to ask you just to pause for a moment. I know that Matundu has to leave by 9:30, so I want to make sure I'm able to just follow through on my initial question to him. I'm not sure if you heard his presentation, which is similar to yours, but he saw the position of executive president as being a transitory post until Jamaica decides a permanent configuration for its politics. Okay, and that I understand. If I may, Matonda, I did want to press you further. Okay, because you are, of course, legally based. Okay, and I want to ask you the question in regards to the current monarch and the monarch's control over the Jamaican economy. Okay, under the proposals you put forward, to what extent would it impact upon the current monarch's control of the Jamaican economy? Clearly, the Bank of Jamaica, for example, is owned by the British monarch. Okay, would your configuration change that relationship? For example.
Yes, all the legacies.
Hold on, I'm asking Matundo.
Monarchy.
Sorry, Professor. Sorry, hold on just a moment. I'm asking Matundo to respond first of all. Can you hear me? Professor, hold on just a second. I'm asking Matundo to respond to me initially, then I'll come back to yourself.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, you're reading from the Bank of Jamaica Act section.
Oh, you become very faint.
Sorry, you're reading from the Bank of Jamaica Act. What section? Hello?
You have become very faint.
Can you hear me?
I can. For some reason,
I'm asking you.
Faint.
You're reading from the Bank of Jamaica Act. What section?
Okay, go ahead. I didn't quite hear what you said.
What section of the Act are you referencing? The Bank of Jamaica Act.
Let's go on now.
Can you hear me?
Yes. For some reason, you become very faint.
I'm asking you, what section of the Bank of Jamaica Act?
Oh, Juliet, can you hear him all right? You can. Okay,
He's
go ahead.
becoming increasingly faint.
That's better. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
I think, Professor, if I can ask you to mute yourself, Professor. Right, I've muted it. That's better. Okay, go ahead, Matundo. I suspect that's solved the problem.
I was asking, what section of the Act are you referencing? The Bank of Jamaica Act.
Okay.
He's asking what section of the Bank of Jamaica Act you are referring to.
Yes, indeed, I shall. Let me refer to that document, which is, again, another one of these interesting documents, and I will bring it up in a moment. I'll put it on screen, better still, and let's see. There we go. I'll bring up the relevant section, and I'll put it on screen. One moment. There we go. Are you questioning whether or not the monarch has control of the Jamaican economy? Is that what you're questioning?
Well, I first need to establish a statutory basis for what you're asserting.
So, okay, thanks. So even if it's not the case that, can you explain what you mean by the monarch having statutory control over the Jamaican bank? Because I don't, I'm not aware of that myself.
Okay, that's all right. Let me bring it up on screen. There we go. Now then, let me just show you here. It's section 6A. Let's go to 6A, shall we? Let's do this.
6A of the Bank of Jamaica Act.
Yep, of the Jamaica Act. Sorry, wrong one, isn't it? There we go. 1 second, there we go. 1 second. I'll do one more time. Let's try it again. Let's bring it up again. 1 moment there. But first, I'm just going to just bring up the Jamaica Act, and I just want to show colleagues here there we go. Got it now. Got it now. There you go. Professor, I'm just going to just bring up the Jamaica Act. Could you? Mute here. Professor, if you could mute yourself, please. Can you turn off your device in the background? There you go. All righty. Now, can you see my screen?
Yeah, but just tell me what section you're looking at.
6A. 6A. 6A.
Hold on, sorry. The governor shall appoint.
Can you read it for us?
The governor shall appoint.
The Governor General. The Governor General.
Well, grammatical, that's not even correct. The governor shall be appointed by the governor general in council by instrument under the broad seal.
Correct.
The appointment of the governor shall not constitute the appointment of a public officer.
Indeed
The person appointed as governor shall hold office for a period. The governor, or in his absence, the senior. What's the point you're making here?
Okay, so the point I'm making here, that the Governor General is the Queen representative in Jamaica. Yep. It is the Governor General that will appoint the governor, okay? And it's the governor that, in conjunction with Parliament, will then appoint the board. But the primary shareholder of the Bank of Jamaica is indeed the British monarch.
Why do you say that? There's nothing there that tells you that.
Okay, let me do this for you as well. Let me do this. That's fine. That's fine. And let me summarize it very quickly if I can get up on my screen. There we go. So just to make clear that the governor, or in his absence, there we go. I'll find.
You're referring to 6C.
Yeah. No. Let me go down. There we go. There we go. Oh, I didn't. I'll find it in this moment. I'll disconnect, then I'll reconnect. I'll arrive at the relevant section where we show who is the primary beneficiary of the Bank of Jamaica. I think that's the important word I've found in the system. So I'm just going to disconnect it here. Give me a moment. And this is such an important exercise because Jamaicans generally do not look at these documents, and it's so vital that we do. Understand them will then define who we are as a people. As I've had discussion with our cousins in Nigeria, they're going through a very similar process, as are our cousins in South Sudan. Very similar process as well. Just a moment, I'll just bring up the relevant section and I'll then put it back on the screen. And I think I've got it here. Yeah, there we go. In other words, and I just want to give some additional context for this. So, of course, Jamaica, up until independence, it was the person that controlled Jamaica on behalf of the Crown, or the governor of Jamaica. Okay, that was the title. Okay, before it became the Governor General. Okay, so the governor of Jamaica was the Queen's representative in Jamaica to ensure that her assets here were kept secure.
Sorry, the governor that's been referenced in this statute is the governor of the Bank of Jamaica.
Correct. It's at the Bank of course. Ultimately, what the Crown here is concerned with is not so much the people. It's concerned with the wealth that's being created and how it is indeed distributed. Okay. So, of course, if you controls the money, controls the economy. Okay. So, of course, they control the Governor General through the monarch here, control ultimately the assets and the resources of Jamaica. This is what this document is telling us, and here we go.
Section
3. Section 3. So, of course, the Governor General, as is now referred to, okay, appoints the governor of the Bank of Jamaica. Okay, appoints is not a political appointment. It's this is the British Crown appointing the governor of the Bank of Jamaica. Okay,
we go back to what Professor Vassian has argued, and I think convincingly, that in real terms, the British monarch, we can overstate this too much sometimes. The British monarch has no practical input in these sort of appointments. It's a governor general who does that. And you don't become governor of the Bank of Jamaica without the prime minister of the day effectively making the decision. That's what happens.
I suppose
in real terms. I mean, the law is concerned with both what's stated there and what happens.
let's ask all Jamaicans this question. You have a monarch in another country, a country that you cannot enter unless you have a visa, okay, able to appoint the governor of what is arguably the most important institution on the island, that is the Bank of Jamaica. Okay. Now, the reason for that power is that hitherto the monarch here in Britain appointed the governor of Jamaica, okay? And it's the governor of Jamaica that was the ultimate power in Jamaica prior to independence. Okay. Now we have so-called independence, and you heard the initial intro that, of course, what they did is to empty the treasury, which is why Jamaica had to go to the IMF for a loan, and why Jamaica remains one of the most indebted countries in the world. Secondly, and I think just as important, if a country is not able to secure its resources, in other words, it doesn't own the public highways, for example, okay, then it's not in a position to determine its economic future. Okay. And therefore, unless we have a radical change in the relationship between Jamaica and the former colonial powers, the situation that is currently prevailing will continue. And that's why I was interested in your initial presentation, where you described it as being a transition, so that we're able to put in place appropriate structures that we will assume control of all the land of Jamaica. Okay.
No, I don't wish to sort of restate the point, but I understand where you're coming from in terms of, if you like, a form. There's a form that exists, a structure that exists as set out in the statute. And I am not one who's here contending that this should not be removed. I'm not suggesting that. But I'm cautioning how much of weight we place on that, because that would be us ignoring the realities on the ground in Jamaica. You don't become the governor of the Bank of Jamaica unless the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister of the day agrees that you should be the governor of the bank. It has never happened in our post 1962 history, and I cannot see it happening. Do I think that there ought to be a reformation of this particular statute? Yes, but not because I think somehow we are in peril financially. I just don't think we're in peril financially. Half of the things that have happened to us, some of them we have to take responsibility for. Not because the governor or the king or the queen has done it. I see the point you make. There's a structure in place that needs to be gotten rid of. I agree with that.
Okay. I'm going to come in. Comrade Gareth, did you want to say something, or Juliet, did you want to respond? Juliet, in fact, let me go to Juliet first of all.
Am I responding to the specific question around the governor of the bank?
Yes.
So I understand what why you're posing that question, Martin, and it's because if the Governor General is appointed by the King, the monarch, the British monarch, therefore anything that they do is essentially also a decision made by the British monarch here. Is that the point you're making?
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, okay. So I'm not sure of the level of independence of the Governor General. So if you're appointed by the UK monarch, does that mean your day-to-day activities are monitored by the person that appointed you? And I'm not sure about that. That's the bit then. So I understand why you're asking that question. So if they appoint the Governor General, therefore any appointment and anything that they do is still a decision by that original person. My understanding, and it's limited, I have to say, is that there is a level of independence that the Governor General has, but is still accountable to the monarch. So that's the, I can't answer it because I don't understand fully the role and the level of autonomy that the Governor General has in any decisions that they make. However, being appointed as the governor of a bank, there would still be both the UK monarchy and the head of state should have a say in both. I'm going to assume that the Constitution allows for that, and that's what happens.
I mean, sorry,
Okay.
going back, if I may,
Mhm.
the Governor General, him or herself, serves in practical terms, as Sir Florizel Glasspool told us when he was alive, at the pleasure of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister it's the Prime Minister who appoints the Governor General technically, you know.
No, respectfully.
No, hold on.
Okay.
Again, I say to you, there's a difference between what the Constitution says and what happens in practice. It is the Prime Minister of the day who suggests who should become the Governor General. That's how it works.
I've got before you a section 9(5) of the Constitution.
I know what it says.
Aha. Okay. So you could see the role of Governor General is all powerful, almost all powerful.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that it.
Right.
If I may?
Yes.
Come with Karen.
If I may?
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a confusion, a collision in many ways of two different types of law. The first one is civil law, which is constitutional, and the other one is law of president, if that's the right reference. Now, what is happening is that the civil law says one thing, but president takes a totally different course. So it is the case that the Governor General is titular, supposed to be nominal, though they do have some powers. It's nevertheless nominal. It is Governor General is appointed by the Queen, yes, or the King in this case now, yes, but that is upon the recommendation of the Prime Minister of the time. So, and I suspect the same thing applies to the Bank of England as well. He is or she is going to be appointed by the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance. Though it is written that he or she, for that matter, will be responsible to the head of state in the UK. So there is a collision, there's a clash between civil law and president. The main thing is that the civil law is regarded as nominal. It's purely symbolic. The Governor General is symbolic. The Governor of the Bank of Jamaica being appointed by the UK monarch is symbolic. But as was established at the beginning by Commander Matinda, although it's nominal, yes, and it's also symbolic, yes, these posts are nevertheless meaningful. They are meaningful. They carry within them a symbol either of our deference, i.e. as Jamaicans, or of the ascendancy of another set of people above us. Now, there are instances in which they are not symbolic. And here I refer to the judiciary. Jamaica has an independent judiciary, but the final court of appeal is the Privy Council. It is the final court of appeal for Jamaicans, sits in the UK. It is members selected from members of the Supreme Court of the UK. In order for a Jamaican to have their case heard in the Court of Appeal, they have to go to the UK. So we see then that there are some cases in which, yes, the civil law, either one that is written with that which is written in the Constitution, is nominal, but there are other cases, i.e., the Privy Council, in which it is not. And I suppose what we're asking for in asking for amendment to the Constitution is that all these things are addressed. The nominal and the symbolic becomes very much entrenched in the Constitution, the new Constitution, and these are critically important. So I understand I understand the confusion between the civil law and the president law. So as a consequence of that understanding, I think we should focus on getting those constitutional amendment that gets rid of this law president and entrench very important rights, such as rights over the bank, control of the bank, rights over the control of our final court of appeal, entrench those things in our constitution.
And I'm inclined to agree. I'm inclined to agree. It is in our constitution that gives the Governor General these wide sweeping powers. And as I read it, and I'm a newbie to this, these powers I recognise in local government here in Britain. If we had these powers here in local government in Britain, it would give us the ability to make such changes to civil society without public recourse. But I think it's unacceptable. It would be unacceptable. I see it's written in this constitution. I find it ludicrous that one would allow what is essentially a foreign state to have such powers over the operations in within Jamaica. But look, let me not press that for the moment, because we definitely need to. I definitely need to progress this conversation. I want to thank Matondu. I see the little one there, and I'm so proud when a father says, "I have child responsibilities." I'm really proud of that. So I'll just say, "Hello, little one." Your father, well, she hears us. You will say, "Hello, little one." There you go. There you are. Let's hope you remember this day. Would you just like to say maybe your closing statement here, Rotundo, just before you leave?
Yes, I'm appreciative of the opportunity that was given to me. And as usual, I learned something. I don't know everything, and I know very little. And what you've pointed out to me in the Bank of Jamaica Act, irrespective of what you've heard me said here, I don't agree that the statute should have said that in the first place, and we should get to the point where it needs to be reviewed. You've now sparked an interest on my part to go and read that particular section and look how it is that the governor, him or herself, is to be removed. So thank you very much for that, and I genuinely mean that, for having pointed it out to myself. Thank you.
Thank you. What I will do, I will send on to you some my other notes, which I've got 47 separate observations, but are not dissimilar in some of their magnitude to that particular example. I can find that example got our time limitation today, but I was astonished by some of the schedules I've read in both documents, and they absolutely need to be modified without a shadow of a doubt. We cannot claim to be an independent country if we have such schedules, such paragraphs in our fundamental documents. The Constitution and the Bank of Jamaica Act 1960 need and must be changed. Okay, I think you've agreed to that. I want to thank you very much for spending this time with us. Please be with your children, because that's the sign of a real father. God bless you. Okay. There you go. All right. Can I go to Juliet now then? You've heard what's been said, and I listened very carefully to your presentation. And in your case, of course, you were not. It was not a transition, but you were at least alluding to a structure you believe would be meritable for Jamaica. But I'm not sure I've reasoned why it would stimulate the economic growth, which ultimately this has got to be focused on, for Jamaica. And I'm going to give you just maybe a minute or so. I'm just conscious of time. This is always going to run over time, by the way. Why would it be good for Jamaica's economy? Your suggestion?
So the reason why it would be good for the economy is because the leader, the head of state and the head of government would be the ones in control of how resources are spent, but also how resources are brought into the country. And at the moment, what Jamaica doesn't have is control of how we bring in resources and how we spend our resources. They have the understanding of what it is the country needs, what it is within the infrastructure that allows the level of poverty that we see within the country. And it's because we don't have autonomy over those decisions. So therefore, those decisions are not made on behalf of and in the benefit of the Jamaican people. That's why I think that the process that I'm looking at my eyes on here, thinking, why are they so red? I slept well. Vanity kicked in. I think, key to that is that having the autonomy of how to bring in resources and how to spend those resources. And all the time that there is a lack of autonomy, we are still governed by somebody else.
That's right.
And so key to any country building its economy is the education of its people.
Right.
That is the fundamental, that is what's key to everything as how a country is built, how it's developed, how it improves, how it's designed, and how it thinks about its future. It's education. And if education is not free and accessible to all, that is, again, has a massive mark, a detrimental impact on a country. And so that they are the reasons is around education, making autonomous decisions and making a decision about where money comes from, how it comes in and how we spend it. And the reason why we have free education is because it's an investment for the future of that country.
Okay, Councillor Juliet Campbell, we need to get you into the Jamaican Parliament, huh? Why not, huh? Why not? Why not? Because your thought processes are very clear, and I'm inclined to agree with you because the points you've made are perfect. I'll just bring this particular caller in. The points you've made are very clear. I suppose I've read the Constitution. There's only an obligation on the government to provide what is basic tertiary education. Can you imagine that's in the Constitution? Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not tertiary. It's just primary and secondary. Tertiary is post-secondary, college and university.
What in
primary and secondary they provide.
So is it primary and secondary?
That's all. No, sorry. It's pre-primary and primary, not tertiary.
Right,
just pre-primary and primary.
Basically, from this country, nursery and primary school.
That's it.
That is absolutely ludicrous.
Absolutely.
That's formative education. That's before you are educated. Wow. And that is key to the economy for any country.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Can I just ask? I've got a call on the line. Good morning, caller. Can you hear us, caller? No, he can't hear us. That's fair enough. Can I just pick up on the other point? Because clearly this is in the Constitution. Why our learned representative would have agreed to it, I do not know. I must say, I do not know. As I said, I've spotted more than 40 amendments which are absolutely critical for the long-term economic and social welfare of Jamaica, and I'm here in Britain. Can you imagine? I suppose, if I may, just go to yourself, Comrade Gareth, and just to make note. How can Jamaicans here in Britain influence the discussion, the debate that's happening in Jamaica?
Okay, the first thing is that in many ways, discussion now can be regarded as academic, primarily because the government, in conjunction with the opposition, have set up a constitutional review committee, and that constitutional review committee has agreed to take to Jamaica a referendum in which people decide what if they want the monarchy, the constitutional monarchy as it exists now, or they want to change. And the change that's been suggested is retention of the Governor General as a president. So there is no real prospect, as the situation stands, of having any substantial constitutional amendments in Jamaica. That is not being offered by the government of Jamaica now at all. So one of the most important moves or action that people can take is to start to agitate, as I think the previous contributor Matunda is fronting up, continue to agitate or start to agitate for the government to offer more insofar as constitutional amendment is concerned than just a referendum. So the date for the referendum has been set. I'm not exactly sure when it is. Perhaps you can look it up while I'm speaking, but it has been set. So we want that referendum to be abandoned. We want instead for there to be a dialogical discussion in Jamaica about what constitutional changes are required, a discussion that involves, in first place, educating people about the necessity of constitutional changes and the possibilities of constitutional changes before they can actually decide on the way forward. Because at the moment, people are not sure about what the Constitution is, how it affects us. Nobody in Jamaica, or very few people, know that the government is not obliged to provide secondary education. God, man, if they did know that, they'll be outraged by it.
Absolutely.
They would be absolutely outraged by it. So things of that type have to be addressed, but the government is avoiding addressing them. People should make their voices heard. They should protest, or by whatever means that is available to them. Writing in, going on the streets, it doesn't matter to me. But that the situation as it stands cannot continue. A situation in which a government form, the processes of government have set us back many years, decades. Jamaica hasn't grown by anything substantial since its independence. And consequently, then, what we have as a constitution is not fit for purpose at all and needs a total change. And people should agitate for that. As I said, write home. You send home money. Jamaican remittances to Jamaica is extremely important. I think it's the second, if not the first, major foreign exchange in Jamaica. We have a right to vote. We have a right to protest about the constitution and how it's affecting us. It affects us directly here. I send home money to my relatives because they don't have enough work or food in Jamaica to feed themselves. They have to buy it with money that they can't earn. So therefore, I send money home every now and again. And my other relatives do the same thing. So we have a right here. We have a right to have a say. We have a right to protest, and we should take full advantage of that right. Though it is not given to us by the Constitution, we ought to. We have a right to protest, and we should make our voices heard. Right home, either to right to the High Commissioner as well. Apparently, there's going to be a new High Commissioner. Interestingly, a military man, a previous general in the army, but nevertheless, we should write to that person. I think is Rocky Mead, and protest about the government approach to constitutional change, which effectively is no change at all.
Thank you. That's very, very clear. I can see, judging by my feedback I have here, I may have to do a further show next week, really to address some local matters in Jamaica. Most certainly, the ambassador is very much on point. I'm almost out of time. I'm going to give the last word to the wonderful Juliet Campbell, prospective parliamentary candidate for which constituency there?
So I was selected to be the Labour Party parliamentary candidate on the 18th of March for Broxtowe in Nottinghamshire. I'm originally from Nottingham.
Congratulations.
Hello, Juliet.
Congratulations.
I look forward to seeing you in Parliament.
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing your maiden speech.
Yes. it'd be fantastic, and it'd be good to speak to you again, Gareth. So you posed some interesting points there, particularly around the rights of Jamaican people in the UK who should have the right to a say and the right to protest. And I agree entirely with that. The referendum, as it's been put forward, is no referendum at all. Do we keep what we've got? There's no alternative. A referendum, at least Brexit was stay or leave. There are two options. There is no option here. It's simply, do we retain what we have without any additional knowledge or information? And again, with the referendum on Brexit, the argument afterwards was that we didn't have enough information. So we've learned from that. So let us have those protests. Let us organize something within the UK. So, we are getting hundreds and thousands of signatures and presenting it to the Jamaican High Commissioner so that we cannot be ignored. Mm-hmm. There's nothing constitutionally that says that we must be heard. Mm-hmm. However, if we do create enough disturbance, then it may provoke people to think differently in Jamaica. However, one of the big challenges that we have is when you are busy trying to put food on your table, constitutional change is so low on your agenda. And how do we share? And there are people in Jamaica, let us not pretend that those people over here have the knowledge. There are people in Jamaica who have the knowledge too. And how are we communicating with them to make sure that the whole argument is heard rather than just a small element of it?
Thank you so much. You're right on time. I'm now out of time. I'm going to disconnect from the GalaxyFui.net network and so thank you all for listening in. I'll disconnect now.
Julia, I'll be in touch.
And the last minute, we'll just conclude on the Motivator Show. First of all, Juliet, I want to thank you for your presentation. We look forward to your maiden speech in Parliament. I suspect you might get a call from the homeland. You never know, but you never know. You're maybe in Jamaica as well. Right. So I would say to you, we wish you well, and don't be a stranger. Thank you for your very, very clear and well presented view on the constitution and constitutional reform in Jamaica, which ultimately means no reform, just a twinkling around the edges. And you're quite right. We need fundamental changes. As I said, I'll send them to you, my observations, and I've only highlighted 2 so far today, and I've got another 38 to go. It was a horrific read. As much as I can say to you, maybe because I am a politician, I understand these documents and I understand the implications of each of those schedules in the Constitution, both the Constitution and the Bank of Jamaica Act 1960. Those documents are an awful read and bad for Jamaica and Jamaicans generally, both home and abroad. Okay, anyway, I'll stop there. I want to say to you, though, Juliet, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your family, but I'm happy. Just call on me. I'd love to come up to your future constituency and campaign alongside you to secure.
Me too.
There you are.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that, and also, thank you for inviting me onto the show.
Yes.
Never done a radio show before, very exciting. And the opportunity to speak on something that I've only been thinking about. So, I do know that there are other debates happening in and around the UK, but we can debate until whenever. Ultimately, if we don't have a say, if we don't have an influence,
Absolutely.
we're just talking, and I think Gareth said it earlier on. At the moment, this is just academic.
Yep.
Let's move it. Let's move it from academic to something that's really can make a difference.
I'm happy to, if I may, whilst you're there, just to give a promotion to the other event that we've discussed, that I understand will take place on August 26th. It will be a similar panel to what we had here today, and also include Matonda as well, and a few other notable Jamaicans. The event is titled the Jamaica Constitution Reform and its Impact on the Diaspora. Okay, so it's from 3 to 6 p.m. on August 26th. I believe you can obtain tickets via Eventbrite. I believe it will be held at Brixton House, 385 Cold Harbour Lane, that's London, SW9 8GL. But go onto Eventbrite to get your tickets. I've got not a problem promoting that event. We need to discuss, we need to debate amongst ourselves so that we can influence what happens in Jamaica. All right, so there you are. That's the and I'm going to say to you, Juliet, thank you so much for your time. Okay, enjoy your family. I've got now a quick word with Gareth, and then I'll conclude. But you take care of yourself, and you just call upon us, and we'll come up and we'll campaign with you to secure your entry into Parliament.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Okay.
And Gareth, just to say thank you for your commentary. A few issues here with trying to connect to some people, but don't worry, I suspect a number of mutual friends of ours will make themselves known. I've had a few messages that we need to do this again, part 3 next weekend. Gosh, if that's what's necessary, that's what's necessary. It's good to debate. It's better that we debate than we are in a position where we're committing violence against each other. Jaw, not war. Okay? And if debate, honest debate, we won't always agree, but we find consensus that's in the best long-term interest of Jamaica. Okay? Thank you. Anything you're proposing before I'll leave you?
Nope, that's it. I suspect that you're over time, so I'm going to I'll keep it to goodbye because it's time now for you to go. Right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Take care.
And just to say, everyone, thank you for your attention today. It has been a truly thrilling experience. We didn't have all of our guests, but don't you worry. This is Jamaican time and all that nonsense. Don't worry. We'll do this again either next week or the following week. Part 3 is clearly there's much more to be said. As I said, my review of the document of the constitutions and the Bank of Jamaica Act 1960 has brought on to me that we need to read these documents because they have a direct impact on lives of Jamaicans, both home and abroad. We've got a vested interest to reform these documents so they best serve the needs of the people. And I'd say to all people, whether from Jamaica, the Caribbean, Africa, or beyond, okay, we all got to support each other. It is critical. Unity is strength, okay? Unity is strength. There is no war here. We've just got to work together for the betterment of ourselves, okay? Collectivism is the approach. All righty. Well, that was quite a show, if I may say so. And thank you for your attention. I look forward to meeting you all on the next Strong. I'm just checking the no other persons online. At the next Strong, and I absolutely look forward to your feedback. And I see we've had quite a few feedback on the WhatsApp, which is very, very good. But most importantly, if in doubt, ask questions. Don't sit down or just walk them by and look. We've got to take an interest. We've got to be concerned because this is the future that we are focused on. Okay. So, with no further ado, I'm going to go back to the intro, which was that intro is intended to provide useful, raw data about Jamaica, both our achievements, our heroes, our heroines, what is good about Jamaica, okay, as a destination place. So, review this intro, and if in doubt, ask questions. So this is the Motivator Show. This is where we translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. Until the next strong, I remain the motivator. Praise be.